Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, is known worldwide for its deep historical roots, rich cultural contributions, and strikingly beautiful landscapes. Sitting between the volcanic hills of Arthur's Seat and the ancient Castle Rock, the city has been a significant centre of power, knowledge and innovation throughout history. From its beginnings as a hill fort to becoming a beacon of Enlightenment thought and later a global cultural hub, Edinburgh has witnessed and contributed to remarkable historical transformations. This video will explore the history of Edinburgh with a primary focus on the years prior to 1980, highlighting key moments and influences that have shaped its growth and legacy. We'll journey from Edinburgh's ancient settlements through its medieval importance, its Renaissance and Enlightenment eras, the impact of the Industrial Revolution, and the city's emergence as a cultural icon in the 20th century. Archaeological findings reveal that humans have inhabited the Edinburgh area since around 8,500 BCE, when hunter-gatherer tribes first settled in the region. Evidence from sites around Edinburgh, such as Cramond, suggests that these early inhabitants used the area as a seasonal settlement, likely drawn to the region for its strategic elevation, fertile land, and access to freshwater sources. Castle Rock, which would later become the site of Edinburgh Castle, was a prominent feature that early inhabitants took advantage of for its natural defensive benefits. Archaeologists have found remnants of a hill fort dating back to the Iron Age, around 500 BCE, which would have been occupied by the Celtic tribe known as the Votadini. This tribe controlled much of southeastern Scotland, including the area that would become Edinburgh. During the 1st century AD, the Romans arrived in Britain and ventured into what is now Scotland. Though they never fully conquered the region, they established several forts and roads which influenced the tribal territories. While the Romans left behind structures and artifacts, they did not establish a permanent presence in Edinburgh. Instead, the influence of the Roman world likely reached Edinburgh indirectly, through trade and interactions with nearby tribes. Even after the Romans left Britain in the 5th century, Edinburgh retained elements of its Celtic culture, and it was not until the medieval period that it would rise to prominence as a key settlement. The early medieval period saw Edinburgh transform from a hill fort to a thriving settlement. With the establishment of Edinburgh Castle in the early Middle Ages, the area solidified its strategic and political importance. By the 11th century, Edinburgh Castle was already a significant royal stronghold, home to the Scottish kings and an essential defensive site. In 1125, King David I granted Edinburgh the status of a royal burgh, marking a key turning point in its development. This status allowed Edinburgh to become a centre of trade and commerce, benefiting from royal protection and tax exemptions. As a royal burgh, Edinburgh attracted merchants, craftsmen and farmers from across Scotland, and its markets became hubs for trade in goods like wool, timber, fish and coal. Edinburgh's central location made it an ideal trading post, with connections to Europe and other parts of Scotland. The layout of medieval Edinburgh began to take shape around this time, centred on the High Street, which extended from Edinburgh Castle down to Holyrood Abbey. This thoroughfare, now part of the Royal Mile, was lined with homes, shops and churches, forming what we now recognise as the Old Town. As the settlement expanded, walls were built to protect the town from attacks, most notably the Flodden Wall, erected in the early 16th century after the Battle of Flodden in 1513. Edinburgh's medieval history was also marked by conflict with England. The city found itself at the heart of the wars of Scottish independence in the 13th and 14th centuries, enduring multiple sieges and periods of English occupation. Edinburgh Castle became a critical stronghold during these conflicts, changing hands several times. The resilience of Edinburgh's inhabitants and the strategic importance of the city solidified its status as a symbol of Scottish identity and resistance against external forces. The Renaissance period brought an intellectual and cultural awakening to Edinburgh. During the 16th century, Scotland experienced its own Renaissance, characterised by advancements in arts, literature and education. In 1582, The establishment of the University of Edinburgh provided the city with a significant academic institution that would go on to play a central role in Scottish society. The university attracted scholars and students from across Europe and became a centre for debate, scientific inquiry and philosophical thought. In 1603, the Union of the Crowns unified Scotland and England under a single monarch, King James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. While this union transferred much political power to London, Edinburgh retained its identity as a cultural and intellectual capital. The city continued to develop its unique character, separate from the English influence even as it adapted to a shared monarchy. The Act of Union in 1707 further solidified the political unification of Scotland and England, moving Scotland's political power centre to London. However, Edinburgh's role as a centre of knowledge and culture was undiminished. This period marked the beginning of the Scottish Enlightenment, a movement that would define Edinburgh's identity for generations. Intellectuals such as David Hume, Adam Smith and Sir Walter Scott contributed to various fields, including philosophy, economics and literature, giving Edinburgh a reputation as the Athens of the North. The Scottish Enlightenment encouraged discussion, debate and innovation. Coffee houses and social clubs sprang up throughout the city, providing spaces for intellectuals to exchange ideas. This spirit of inquiry and debate attracted scholars and thinkers from across Europe, making Edinburgh one of the most influential centres of Enlightenment thought. The 19th century brought significant change to Edinburgh with the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Although less industrialised than Glasgow, Edinburgh developed a robust economy with thriving industries in printing, brewing and textiles. The city's publishing houses produced influential works, further bolstering its reputation as an intellectual and cultural centre. To support this growth, new infrastructure was developed. The construction of the Union Canal, completed in 1822, connected Edinburgh to central Scotland's coalfields and facilitated the transport of goods and materials. Railways soon followed, connecting Edinburgh to other major cities such as Glasgow and London, and enabling efficient movement of people and products. The rise of industry also led to social and urban challenges. Edinburgh's population grew rapidly, leading to overcrowding, especially in the Old Town. Housing conditions deteriorated and poverty became a visible issue, with cramped tenements and inadequate sanitation. In response, city planners designed the New Town, a Georgian-style expansion that aimed to alleviate the crowding in the Old Town and provide a healthier environment for residents. The New Town was a marvel of urban planning, with wide streets, open squares and symmetrical design, showcasing a neoclassical architectural style that remains an iconic part of Edinburgh today. It provided spacious living conditions and became home to the city's wealthier residents, while many working-class families continued to live in the cramped conditions of the Old Town. This contrast highlighted the social inequalities of the time, prompting calls for reform and improved living standards. Philanthropic housing initiatives in the late 19th century aimed to address these issues, creating affordable housing for the city's poor. This period also saw the establishment of public institutions such as libraries, hospitals and schools, further improving the quality of life for many Edinburgh residents. The 20th century brought both challenges and opportunities to Edinburgh. During World War I and World War II, Edinburgh contributed significantly to the war effort. Many of the city's young men enlisted, and local industries pivoted to support military needs. Edinburgh also endured air raids during World War II, resulting in damage to certain areas and loss of life. But the city's resilience and spirit remained strong. After the wars, Edinburgh, like much of the UK, entered a period of reconstruction and modernisation. Post-war housing projects aimed to address the city's persistent overcrowding and poor living conditions, particularly in the Old Town. New housing estates were built on the outskirts of the city, providing affordable homes for working-class families. While these developments improved living conditions, They also sparked debates about the balance between modernisation and the preservation of Edinburgh's historic character. One of the most significant cultural milestones for Edinburgh in the 20th century was the founding of the Edinburgh International Festival in 1947. Launched to promote cultural exchange and unity in the wake of World War II, the festival quickly became an international success, attracting artists, musicians and audiences from around the world. This success inspired the creation of the Fringe Festival, an alternative platform for more experimental performances. Together, these festivals solidified Edinburgh's status as a global cultural capital and brought substantial economic and social benefits to the city. In the 1970s, Edinburgh's commitment to preserving its historic heritage led to the city's old and new towns being designated as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. This recognition underscored Edinburgh's architectural and historical significance, promoting conservation efforts and establishing guidelines to balance urban development with heritage preservation. The history of Edinburgh is a tapestry of resilience, innovation and cultural richness. From its origins as a prehistoric settlement on Castle Rock to its growth as a royal burgh, a beacon of Enlightenment thought and a cultural icon, Edinburgh's journey through the ages has been one of adaptation and transformation. The city has consistently embraced change while honouring its past, preserving its architectural heritage and fostering a spirit of intellectual and cultural vibrancy that continues to thrive today. Thank you for watching this video.